Through conversations with business professionals, educators, and technology leaders, the Jerrell Riggins podcast explores the intersection of business, education, technology, and leadership. I am your host, Jerrell Riggins. Today's topic is education and mentorship. We have Dr. J. Keith Motley, served as Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts at Boston from July 1st, 2007 to June 30th, 2017. Currently, Dr. Motley serves as a tenured professor in UMass Boston College of Management and has taught leadership capstone for doctoral students for 12 years. Before he was appointed chancellor, Motley served as vice president for business marketing and public affairs. Before joining the president's office, he was the interim chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Boston, where he previously served as vice chancellor for student affairs. Following more than 30 years in higher education administration, that included 10 years as Dean of Student Services at Northeastern University. We are glad to have in the studio Chancellor Emeritus and Distinguished Professor, Dr. J. Keith Motley. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Jerrell, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be not only in your presence, but as be part of this important podcast that you're developing.
Thank you.
And so thank you for having me, and in this season of thanks.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better way of starting that than being here with you this afternoon.
Great. You know, before you matriculated to Boston, can you give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I grew up in the home of Willie Starger, Roberto Clemente, August Wilson, and all those folk in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a place that lots of people thought was only notable because of the steel industry and those kinds of things, but it's notable for music and arts and education and all those things as well. That whole tri-state area of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia come together to create an incredible place to live and to learn. So I grew up in this neighborhood that was so diverse that, you know, on one section we're playing spin the dreidel, and another section we're with, our friends who were playing bocce ball.
Okay.
They come over our house and play cards or do whatever, and we go up the street and we would have, you know, celebrations that included so many kinds of people. So the incredible human qualities that were dispersed, but also that were part of those cultures are the kinds of things that stuck with you as a young man. So I grew up always just wanting to know. You know, you wake up in the morning wanting to learn something new, and all you had to do was go next door and learn from, you know, the families that were there.
All right.
And that kind of thing. So had a wonderful experience growing up in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
As you was growing up, were you always interested in education?
Well, I think what happened was I ended up going to Sunday school because my grandfather was a pastor there, and you know, so you were always learning from the time you can remember. My mother was my first teacher, and she taught me how to read long before I was in school, and so it was amazing for faculty members or teachers at the time that I could do all of that. And I started school when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
But I always remember in Sunday school, Miss Kathleen Davis always telling me how brilliant I was. I've never heard someone tell me that I couldn't do something. And that started with the love and support of those teachers who taught me so much and taught me comprehension. It's one thing to be able to read, but to be able to comprehend what you read and understand it was something that my mom and my teachers taught me as I was coming along.
Wow.
The little library that we had in our house looked like this massive place to us, and it probably was equivalent to about 6 or 7 bookshelves, including encyclopedias, of course.
Okay.
But every kind of book that you could think of, we were reading it, because those were the things that took us on adventures all over the world. We didn't do like our children today.
Yeah.
They get on a plane and they call you and they're in Barcelona and they're 18, 19 years old. I didn't get on my first airplane until I came from Pittsburgh to Boston.
Okay.
And so, and that was amazing to me being above the clouds because I always looked up at the clouds and wondered what was beyond that space. And so, just an amazing experience. So I've always wanted to know, always been interested in education. And when you do that in Pittsburgh, you were an outlier.
Okay.
So, one of the things that happened, they would always call me, tease me and call me Harvard or something because you're reading books. I was interested in all my sports and things that I did, but my mother was sending me to Carnegie Mellon University for theater, was sending me to violin lessons with private instruction. I was going over to the Allegheny Community Colleges as a 4th and 5th grader, learning computers when they were as big as this room that we're sitting in for this podcast.
Wow.
And so I've always had exposure because the greatest gift that you can give to a child is exposure. Because once they're exposed to great people, to great entities, to great opportunities for learning, they will never forget that. But most important, you begin to gain this confidence that allows for you to understand that you belong.
Yes.
And that you don't have to fit in. All you have to do is get into a space and you'll be able to move from there to whatever the reality needs to be for you as you go forward.
Hey, man. All right. That sounds good. Yeah. Now, as far as that, growing up, is there any kind of quote that drove you to advocacy, being a voice to help those desire equity across higher education?
Well, there are several quotes that stick in my mind. When I think about quotes, I think about if you can accept the sunshine, you also need to be able to accept the thunder and the lightning.
Wow.
And that's a real deep quote, not knowing what it meant at the time. You hear people talk about that. And really it was talking about you cannot just be grateful and blessed when, it's sunshine all day. You need to find out how to deal with the thunder and the lightning and the rain as well.
Yeah.
And so, I just came back from Arizona over the weekend. And they get 1/2 inch of rain per year. I'm there for 4 days, and it's raining 2 of those days. But we did not lament. We bask in the fact that there was some, we were among the first to come at this season, and it actually rained.
Great, yeah.
And by the look at all the cactuses and desert and stuff, they needed a little rain, from someone who grew up with seasons.
Okay.
But for those folk, they thought it was cold, because it would be 40 at night and 80 during the day.
Wow.
But it rained, so being able to accept that. But I think that another one that drove me as I became more mature is knowing yourself is the key to all wisdom. Knowing who you are, what you are, and whose you are.
That's right.
Okay, is the key to all wisdom. And once you get a grasp on that, it's like putting on this coat of armor, or this coat of arms, that protects you, because no one can convince you that you're not.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Because you know who you are and what you are and whose you are and what you're capable of and all those things. So knowing who you are is the beginning of all wisdom. And when I think about current young people, it's basically, I don't know if it's a quote or not, but you don't have to, it's hard to live in this world today where people are always asking you to be someone other than who you are. They want you to, bling this, ping that.
Yeah.
and all these other things that they want you to be, they want to be liked and disliked or whatever online and checked in with and all that. So, you mess around and have a psychologically affected self-consciousness if you allow that to continue to go in that route. Mm-hmm. So that's why I start with that knowing piece. Even though when I'm walking around every day, I'm thinking about how to make the best of the day because, you can't guarantee that it's all going to be rosy.
Rosy, that's right.
So you got to be ready to have enough faith to deal with that.
Yeah. As the Chancellor of UMass Boston, your focus included academic excellence, inclusion, and access among initiatives during your tenure. What are some of the ways that you connected with your UMass Boston community, kind of fostering that effective relationships?
Well, the biggest thing that we wanted to make sure, and we continue to do, is this notion of caring. Creating this culture where there's an ethic of care.
Yeah.
And that caring starts with teaching and learning, where you are in a classroom and you understand that learning goes both ways, that the gift is not just one from faculty member to student.
Yes.
It's one where students are bringing us learning every day. I learned so much from them. I thought someone was dropping a whole bunch of flash drives all around campus when I came off a sabbatical, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm in the classroom, and I'm like, man, why is everybody dropping these flash drives? And they told me it was some e-cigarette thing that people were just too lazy not to recharge or whatever, and were dropping them everywhere. And it's things you learn from them, the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The things they care about. You realize that it goes both ways. So there's this intergenerational ethic of care and learning and culture that happens on the campus. Caring for each other is an important thing. Mm-hmm. And it's something that isn't easy for some folk.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're taught not to pay attention. And it's good morning, but not wanting to ask the next question, how are you today? Because someone may answer that. And if they tell you I'm having a miserable day, then now you can't say you don't know they're having a miserable day. And so I make them all check in when I see them. Mm-hmm. Coming into a classroom or as chancellor when I walked around, well, how are you? And they tell you how they are. And the idea is you don't have to own it. You can really help somebody do it themselves.
Yeah.
You don't have to ride around and feel like a victim of a drive-by. If everywhere you go, someone's shooting something at you that they want you to resolve for themselves. Yeah. Let them resolve it.
Yeah.
But teach them how to do that. Maybe if you go over here, there's, Jerrell Riggins, he's over there.
Yeah.
He's a scholar in this space. But more than that, he's a caring spirit. He'll listen to you because the key is listening.
Yes. Oh, that listening ear is so
Everybody
important.
wants to be heard.
Yes, right.
Okay? But we want to cut everybody off because generations cut us off. Mm-hmm. Granddad, what do you think, man? You don't bring that up to your granddad. Yeah. Why? Well, why not? And if you do that, you're the smart guy. Mm-hmm. Well, you're smart enough to ask the next question because if they answer, then it's passed down because you're going to remember that, pass that down generationally to somebody else.
That's right.
And so I talk about there's no such thing as a not so smart question. Mm. There's no such thing as being in an environment and not being a full participant. You can't sit in a chair in a classroom or at a table of leadership and not participate. Yeah. Because it's an indication, whether you say it is or not, of some level of caring.
Yes.
That becomes a challenge. Mm-hmm. So what is that all about? You understand?
Yeah.
So trying to create that kind of culture. But when I came into that role, as the first tall, handsome, bald-headed guy in the history of Boston Research Universities to serve in that capacity as president, right?
Yeah.
And have done it for a long time, because most people get a tenure, just a period of time to do it.
Yeah.
But to go through that like 3 cycles of students, but having been there in interim capacities and been there where I was running the entire Commonwealth,
Yeah.
you know, it gives you a lot of insight. Okay? And so when you're sitting in an institution like that, after all that time, and you're first to serve in those roles, you wanted to be a second.
Yeah.
And so the idea was to create an atmosphere where people understood, you know, the university. So when I got there, it was falling in the ocean. And so when I left Northeastern to come there, many folks said I was going to the Titanic. It was sinking, right?
Yeah.
Why are you going over there? Because everywhere else in this country, public higher education is revered.
Yes.
In Massachusetts, because there's so many, an inordinate amount of privates, and I'm a private school educated guy. I was hating on these schools before I went over there.
Okay.
And when I was convinced to come by a mentor of mine, Dr. Sherry Penny, but also Charlie Titus, who was there for decades, and others who had set a standard, I said, well, let me go and check it out.
Yeah.
And when I went, I found an ethic of care that was already there. I would give people $250 for a project that if I did that at other institutions, they would spit at that amount of money because it would have been an insult to them. They said, thank you. And I was stunned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For
Okay.
$250, that's right, yeah.
And so, needless to say, when someone's tuition or something was paid for, it was a whole different level of thank you.
Yeah.
And I was astounded by that because I hadn't heard that in a long time. Because there's an expectation in leadership sometimes that that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, be a good father because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
No, you're supposed to be a great father,
Yeah.
not a good one.
Fun. Yeah.
You know, you're supposed to be a great teacher, not a good one. So, and when you exceed that, and those thank yous come, that helps pivot you towards a new level of success.
Yeah.
There's nothing more energizing than someone sharing with you that you've done something to impact their life. And that's what just 2 simple words say.
That's right.
Thank you indicates so much to you. It's a signal, even in your subconscious space, you know, that it hits you even later on, that it mattered. And so for me, creating that kind of culture. But we knew we had academic excellence because what I found was faculty teaching in the rain. Buildings were dripping and raindrops were falling on their head, and they're still teaching and not complaining. So my thing to them was, well, let me build a different kind of environment for you. So the first thing we did was we built academic environments. And then the second thing we decided to do was not only deal with all of our academic structure by putting PhD programs and honor college into place, places for people to live and to learn into place. In fact, we're very honored because one of those spaces was recently named for my wife, Angela, and I, the only residence hall complex on campus, and we're honored by that. But then we said, not only do we need to build an academic infrastructure, we need to build a physical infrastructure that makes a difference. And when you walk out on that campus today, it's a destination point for the city. And that's what we want. It's the only campus in New England that has its own presidential library. And so next to the presidential library, we put the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate.
Yeah.
Then we put in residence halls and parking lots, and we named a football field jointly with Boston College High School for Father Monin, another one of my mentors who was a Boston College leader where I earned my PhD from. Dr. Monin was an incredible leader. So the baseball field's named for him. A science building, right when you walk on the campus, it hugs you, but not only that, allows young people to look inside as if they're watching television or they're on their iPhone and see people doing research and going to class, and it's set up so it looks like a television screen.
Wow, that's powerful.
And then you go to the other side of campus, and we mix in the arts with business and law. So they used to practice the violin, and I'm a violinist. They used to practice it in classrooms because they had nowhere else to practice. And now there's a place where you could do dance and music and vocals and theater.
All right, yeah.
And all these things combined with the sciences, but also the sciences of business, the sciences of law, the sciences of art, you know, and all those creative things all merged into one kind of space. And so the structure, and we had to build streets because it's a peninsula. And you don't want people to get stuck out there in some kind of emergency.
Yeah.
And so we had to build, not only that, we built new roads. And so we're excited about this institution. And then to be able to hand this off to someone who doesn't have to do all that.
Yeah.
Someone who inherited it, who happens to be a scholar. See, I'm a non-traditional in so many ways, college president, you know, because I'm sort of like a primary care educator.
Okay.
You come to me, and I know a little bit about a lot of things. Whereas there are some people who come in and their only focus is to be president and to do it in a very ceremonial, hierarchical kind of way.
Right.
I knew I had to get down into the dirt, literally, and then out into the community and take action just to change the mental models of people.
Yeah.
What is the reputational change that has happened in this city and beyond regarding the University of Massachusetts at Boston is amazing to me.
A lot of inclusion.
You know, and when I used to walk in my neighborhood, everyone would ask me about all my predecessor institutions. Can you get my kid in Northeastern? Can you get my kid in BC?
See, okay.
Right? BU. Any school I was affiliated with. What's it going to, and then I started doing in community newspapers, writing articles, the cost of going to college and whether or not it's worth it for an undergraduate degree, and then showing the economic price points for institutions, and that you can get a bachelor's degree taught by the leading people in the world for 1/6 of what it costs you to go somewhere else. When people started seeing that, I couldn't walk the neighborhood without them following me around. Angie and I would be like, didn't we just see this person? And they'll come up to you, hey, Dr. Motley, I just wanted to talk to you. My daughter's interested in going to UMass. And I would almost faint because when I first started walking that route and I first went over, like they said, I went to the Titanic in their mind.
Yeah.
And it only takes the opportunity to sort of go see for yourself. Exposure.
Yeah.
Right? I invite them to events, or I host events at the house, and you invite the neighborhood to come. And they get exposed, and they're like, what? Because, we're poisoned every day by something or something that's either that makes you believe that and I listen to it. Someone will tell me about things I'm supposed to be doing, and I get their take on it, and I just have to laugh. So I know I've sort of gone off a little bit.
Oh no, but you were fostering a lot of relationships, but you were bringing a whole lot of different aspects, a whole different culture, a whole different outlook on UMass Boston, because yes, it did it did have a negative image for.
I mean, some of y'all that love me was like, why would he go there? Because, he's living pretty good over here at Northeastern. A vice president, a dean, But at the end of the day, when I went to the University of Massachusetts, they told me I was going to be chancellor one day. Mm-hmm. And I heard from certain people that I would be a great vice president, to be the greatest vice president in their history. And they didn't understand the ceiling that set for me.
Yeah.
In my own mental model, because I wanted to be a president.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's
Because
right.
I already walked around like I was. Because one of the things that I always tell young people is you got to envision yourself as what you want to become.
That's right.
One day. So you don't walk around, you're in this job, so now you act like you're in that job. Are you kidding me?
That's right.
You got to set standards that are beyond that job.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be a job anyway. Mm-hmm. It should be part of how you live your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't run your life. So that's what I mean about a culture of care. Someone telling you enough that your family comes first no matter who you think you are.
That's right.
The titles don't define you. Mm-hmm. People will say to me, chancellor and doctor and this and that. Sometimes I forget who they're talking to. Because I've lived with Keith for a long time.
Yeah.
So I know who he is. Mm-hmm. I don't have to wake up wondering who he is.
That's right. Because
I know how he acts. Mm-hmm. I know what he does. And that's what I mean about non-traditional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had the nerve to have my basketball coach as the principal speaker at my inauguration, and the faculty almost lost their minds. Because traditionally you have an academic do that. You were there.
Yeah, that's right.
But he could tell the story of my life in a way that nobody else could tell that story.
That's right.
And he was an educated.
He talked about how, here's this tall, scrawny kid coming from Pittsburgh.
Right, exactly. Who told him that he didn't only have an interest in basketball when he wanted to have those 3 and 4 hour practices.
Yeah.
That I knew if I went home without a degree, like some of the folk who had been my predecessors as college student athletes, I would have been all I could be, and it wasn't going to be sitting around my house. I didn't have a business to go back to. Mm-hmm. I had a single parent family mother who, when I saw how much money she wasn't making, when I had to do financial aid for the first time, even as a student on scholarship, they make you fill out the financial aid papers. I saw my mother's income. I cried and I vowed I'd never ask her for another dime in my life.
Yeah.
When I saw that. And I never sweated her or asked her for anything from that point forward. Because I knew that everything she gave me was out of love. Mm-hmm. And she scrapped and made sure that 5 people and produced, all lawyers and college presidents and pastors and all of these kinds of things, from that little 5'3" person, So it's an amazing, amazing journey.
Yeah. But just like you said, it made me think of the quote of Dr. Mae Jemison.
Yes.
Do not be limited by other people's limited imagination.
It's it. and Dr. Jemison, imagine if she would have been limited by that. Speaking of astronauts, when I met our good brother who passed away on my birthday in space, we were sitting in Roxbury in a bar. He had just come out of his karate class. We both teach and we're both in the same form of karate. But the piece on that was, I was in my Nguzastava stage. I was the dean of the African American Institute, telling all these students that believe that we can do anything. Mm-hmm. And when he told me that he was an astronaut, I thought he was drunk.
Because you never heard that.
You understand?
Yeah.
So even those of us who espouse all these values are tested.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're sitting there, and I find out that he's really an astronaut. I look at the card later on because I was waiting because I had a softball team that was being sponsored by the person who owned the bar. Mm. He was waiting because he had just come from teaching at 12 Baptist Church, his karate class. Okay? Found out we did the same thing, found out we were both educators. He went to MIT, all that kind of stuff. And the bottom line is, it took for him to pass away on that flight on my birthday. I'm watching television and thought it was a movie. And my wife calls me screaming, "Come in here and look at this." And I told her the story. Mm. So that's what Mae Jemison's talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah. You can't I can't be limited by your limited imagination.
That's right.
He knew he did that to mess with me. Because I'm supposed to be all this, all the Kwanzaa principles and all that, unity and, all of this, right? And here I am, didn't even have faith enough in this person to believe that he could be an astronaut.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me thinking, when I told him I was a dean, over there, I don't know. Because we're both in a strange space.
Yeah.
Both there for the right reasons, but it could have been the wrong reasons that we were there.
Yeah.
Okay? And so God gives you those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Because there's always a piece for you and for you to share.
Yeah, and that leads us right into the next one, conversation about teaching and learning that you displayed leading. Instructional leadership. So what are some of those areas you think you really touched on teaching and learning as far as instructional piece to not only from yourself to your faculty and to your students?
Well, there are 5 things that they know that I'm teaching all the time. Okay? Lead by example. Mm-hmm. Okay? Don't talk about something and not be willing to do those things or be a part of those things,
Yeah.
Own the process.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Don't start blaming other folks for all of your misguided decisions.
Yeah.
Even if they were misguided in giving you the information, you had to process it and decide to do it. Mm-hmm. So don't say that it was Johnny who did it.
That's right.
It's me. So own it. Mm-hmm. And if you own it, I can deal with you. But if you want to tell me that was Miss Sue on the 5th floor down in the, bakery in the cafeteria that told you to make a decision to tell the students they couldn't get books out the bookstore, I'm like, are you kidding me? Right?
Yeah.
Seek continuous improvement. Mm-hmm. How we start class is not where you're going to finish class.
That's right.
Courses end. They E-N-D. Mm-hmm. Okay? Your thirst for knowledge should never end. You get a terrible teacher, that teacher is going to be done with you in 5 weeks or 9 weeks or 14 weeks or whatever the course runs.
That's right.
Okay? So you need to be able to deal with that. All right? Mm-hmm. Okay? Maintain constructive relationships. You heard me. I didn't say destructive.
Yes, constructive.
I said constructive.
That's right.
Okay? Because we always want to get into this destructive space. Right? Constructive.
Yeah.
Right? That means that I can say something to you that may not be so normal for you because it may be something that's shared to help you look at something different. Mm-hmm. Don't take it as being some space where I'm trying to criticize you.
Yeah.
I'm just critiquing what it is that I see you doing. And the greatest thing about the gift of advising is that you don't have to do it. You can make a choice.
That's right.
Advising is just to give you something to flash in your head to determine as you make the final decision. So now you own the process, and now you lead by example.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay?
Stretching them, but you're stretching that person, though.
And constructive relationships. I come to UMass. I got the ugliest car on campus, right? So I'm getting high fives because I had the nerve to drive this car on campus, right? But I tell somebody that getting in and out of the garage for me has been like the Roach Motel. You know, you get in, but you can't get out. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, is it something about my car or something? Or the past? I find out that my first day there, somebody had called down to one of the offices down deep, dark in the tunnels of the University of Massachusetts, telling them and not asking them that they were going to do something for me. And that person was related to the lady in the bookstore, who was related to the man in the library, who was related to the man who ran the floors, who was related to the people that were building the new building for me, who was related to the person who was doing parking.
Wow.
And when they found out, they jacked up my parking pass because that fool had not maintained a constructive relationship with that person. They had created the destructive relationship with that person.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
And look at the chain, how it all went through. I mean, ooh.
And so here we are. The next thing I know, I can't get out the garage because of you. So that's 4.
Yeah.
Right? But celebrate success is 5. Success is not necessarily rah-rah on you because you did something right.
Yeah.
It's rah-rah on you when sometimes you've created a new way of doing things and all that. But it's also thank you.
Yeah.
You know? It's thank you.
Yeah.
It's also, I can go downstairs and see that person and let that person know I appreciate you getting that done for me. I know you didn't know I was some new guy on campus who had no capacity to get anything done yet. And I was not trying to use the power of my position to get it done. That person was trying to do that.
Yeah.
And so I know you took it out on me because you thought it was me sending that person.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to own it, but I need to get out this garage.
That's right.
You understand?
Yeah, I got to go home now.
I got to go home.
Yeah.
And everybody every night is behind me in line while you call the dude on the dial and say, I'm holding up the line again, and they finally let you in, and there's 25 cars. And now I'm coming on campus new. I've become the dude that holds up all the cars in the tunnel every day.
And they remember your license plate.
That's right.
Yeah.
With the ugly car.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So it went from that to high-fiving me because I had the nerve to drive that car. Because all those years at Northeastern, I could take the commuter rail. And fall asleep. I'm at the first stop and the last stop, getting out from work. Or get a ride home.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And going over there, I was stuck because I had to drive or go all the way downtown to come all the way back out to Morrissey Boulevard.
That's right.
So I started driving it, and then I got a driver, 9 months later because I became chancellor. But the bottom line is, that's where we were, man.
Yeah. That's powerful.
So you're looking at me saying, this is really therapeutic for you, isn't it? He's like, I didn't expect all that.
But
this is called a podcast, man.
That's right.
Okay? You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, no, that's true. So what do you think, how was you communicated that vision and about teaching and learning? I mean, what did you embody, how your teaching and your leadership skills are going to affect and influence the faculty and your students?
Well, faculty are always incredible scholars.
Yeah.
So, my thing was not about their disciplines. Okay? What chancellors do is the reason they learn a lot is because if you talk to faculty and learn about their discipline, you're getting like Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
So I can come out talking like an astrophysicist 20 minutes later on a very surface level,
Yeah.
and you would think, oh, that guy knows everything, right? Like the students, when they prop me up.
Yeah.
Till my wife just told him, you know, he takes all this information you give him, and he goes to these events, and he just shares it with everybody, and they're all looking at him amazed. But it's the stuff they tell me.
Yeah.
Or the things they research for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dr. Motley, I'll find that out. And they give you the information. So the goal is to create an environment where that scholarship is held at to the highest esteem.
Yeah.
But if you can't teach
Yeah.
at a teaching university
Yeah.
where we want to be a research university with a teaching soul. You understand?
Yeah.
So
All
we
right.
want you to be brilliant,
Yeah.
but we want you to have a teaching soul.
Yeah.
Teaching, you get up on a soapbox. It's like being in theater,
Yeah.
you know? It's like you coming out every day and you got a matinee and then you might follow it up with the night performance.
That's right.
Because when you get on that stage called teaching, you know, you're on stage.
Yeah.
And you get in there and you keep their attention because you're teaching to every single student. So if there's 30 students in the room, you got 30 different things and places that you have to land in each of their hearts and their souls and their minds.
Yeah.
And so you check them when they come in the door. They got to speak to you when they walk in the door. You're there before they're there preparing. You don't walk in on them.
Yeah.
They walk in on you. You can have moments that are offline, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is scholarship,
Okay.
teaching. Now the research part of it, it's a part that few people understand. I was sitting before the Senate and they're grilling me because the University of Massachusetts had gotten all this money for someone to study bee pollination in Iceland. And they're trying to figure out why we're giving all that money to that university to study bee pollination in Iceland. If they read the brief, they would have saw that everything that's happening right now was the reason why they were studying bee pollination in Iceland. Okay?
All right.
You know, because bees started, you know, moving, and geese started moving, and fish have started moving up and down
That's right.
in ways that they had not moved before. And whales have started docking themselves instead of you having to catch them. You know, it's all those things. So there's some relevancy there with all of this stuff, but you got to teach folk about research.
Yeah.
So our research went from $20 million to $100 million, and we became a Research One university long before we planned to be there.
Wow.
Because Research One means that I have to only have you teach 2 classes, which means you got to get more people,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
But I had a meeting with faculty members. And there were, you know, it's a huge university. So the faculty are they stand up, and I say, how many of you all are doing research projects in Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury,
Okay.
whatever? The whole room stood up. Well, how many of you knew that that person was doing that? People sit down. So service becomes a big part of this. How you serve.
Yeah.
That sound familiar to you?
Yes, it does. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
How you serve.
Mm-hmm.
Who you serve.
That's right.
What you serve.
That's right.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And so that had never been part of a tenure evaluation.
Okay.
They don't even know how smart you are, how you can teach, what folks are saying about you in your teaching.
Yeah.
And let's see what you write and research. And half of that, most people can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an advocate for the ability for you to be able to write something and everyone can understand. It's called portraiture. Okay? You're painting a picture for a person so that they can understand, not abstractly, but they know that picture is something that I can sort of comprehend. You don't have to be a scholar within that community to understand it.
Yeah, that's
You should be able to open that book up and start anywhere you want in that book. And close it up and go back and start somewhere else and be able to bring from that book whatever it is that its purpose is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So how you do that is critical.
Yeah.
Critical.
Well, I want to add to your 5 points, which you said earlier, standard of care.
Yes. But you didn't let me add to it. You didn't let me add to it.
All right.
I'm gonna steal something from one of my dearest friends in the world.
All right.
Who's over at Fidelity Investments. Pam Everhart. She already added this one.
All right.
And it's relationship before task.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of y'all come into these roles, Pastor.
All right.
Or you want to give everybody some work to do. But you haven't built a relationship with that person first.
Yes, that's so important. That's crucial. Yes, it is.
But you think that's the part. That ain't even the part. You got to understand the relationship organizational chart.
Okay.
I told you earlier how that person got me in trouble because they didn't know that this person was related to the bookstore and the library and the cafeteria and all these people. And then that person was related to the parking pass guy.
That's right. Wow.
They're sitting around dinner saying that Motley guy is terrible. His boy called down there and said, get this thing up to him immediately. And in a union-operated space, in a public space where everyone has a voice and they all own the institution.
That's right.
Now, that would have worked at a private school, which is why they thought I did that. That was someone doing what they thought I wanted to do because they didn't know me. So relationship before task, but understand the relationship chart.
Yes.
When Pam Everhart talks about it, she talks about coming into a new job and not knowing that the person she's talking to is part of the circle of influence that was not allowing for some of the ideas that wanted to be manifested to happen.
Yeah. Wow.
You got to do your homework before you have that conversation with that person.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Build relationships.
Yeah.
Know the relationship chart. Somebody can't come on campus and think that they could talk to my chief of staff and don't know that's him. And that it's not getting back to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they'll assassinate you before it even gets to me. Because I don't know half the things that I don't own that part of it.
Yeah.
You understand? Everyone leads by example, owns the process, maintains constructive relationships. Everybody is seeking continuous improvement. Everyone's celebrating success on their levels, right?
That's right.
You understand?
Yeah. No.
So they already know that. So when I come in and you bring a problem to me, I'm not going to answer you immediately. First of all, I'm not letting you. I'm sitting in my office having my tea, maybe a crumpet or two.
Yeah.
Feet up. You come in with a crisis and don't understand why I'm not in crisis mode with you. I'm not teared up with you. I'm not angry like you.
Yeah.
Before you came, I was cool.
Cool, that's right.
So my question is, what have you done to deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you led by example? Have you owned the process? Have you maintained constructive relationships? Have you, tried to get into this process of what did you learn?
Learn from the process.
Who have you learned it from?
Mm-hmm.
Who have you said thank you to already before you came to me?
Yeah.
And why you want to come mess up my day? Come to me with solutions.
Yes, that's right.
Options for me to have that you've done your introduction to whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You've done your analysis of what it is.
Yeah.
You've done your options that you might think I like. Now you want to recommend something to me that you think could work, not for me, but for the common good of who we are as an institution.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's true. Don't come to me with just problems and want me to solve it.
You understand?
Yeah. How do you feel about it? Yeah.
And because now you have to what? You gotta own it.
That's right.
Everyone wants they want to tell you somebody else did it.
That's right.
It was people will even say it was my mom.
Oh, that's right.
Can you hear that? My mom was, she was sick and I had to roll over. And you find out, you say to their mom at an event, hey, Mom, how you doing? I heard you were, what?
That's news to me.
The folks will go to any extent, in some cases, because nothing's absolute.
That's right.
Right? To not own it. Mm-hmm. That I made the mistake.
That's right.
You know how refreshing that is? To be able to say and not, because trial and error is okay.
Hey, that's right.
What isn't okay is unforced errors. Mm-hmm. You know when Venus and them be playing?
That's right.
Unforced errors, I'm cringing. But when someone comes and blasts them and the ball goes whatever, that's just an error.
Error, that's right.
But unforced ones, you got the ball bounces up to the moon, something I can spike, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever they call it in tennis, right?
That's right.
And you miss, that's an unforced error. And you do that over and over, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's the difference between professionals and
amateurs.
Wannabe professionals.
Yeah, that's right. Good. We've talked about education and mentorship. And mentorship can make or break your educational career as well as your professional career. So it's so essential to choose a good mentor. And everyone walks away satisfied and gets, hopefully, the positive results they expected in that relationship. How do you choose a good mentor?
Well, first of all, you got to understand what inspired you to even want to have that person in your life.
Okay, all right.
But you also need to understand whether or not that person would even begin to be open to being in your life, having you in their life. You understand?
Yeah, that's right.
Most people, have some Kairos moment. You're at some speech. You hear some dude who's giving some canned speech. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that we talked about today that was predetermined. Yeah. We just had a conversation.
That's right.
So either you hear my soul and I'm either too overly aggressive for you or too passionate for you, right?
Yeah.
And you know that I'm going to hold you accountable and all these other kinds of things.
That's right.
So you just want to say you have a mentor, right? Or you want to understand that if we have a relationship, that comes with terms.
That's right. Accountability.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of other A's. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't watch out, it may be your A.
Yeah, that's right.
Because time is important.
That's right.
When someone gives you their time and their talent.
Yes, sir.
This ain't tiddlywinks.
No.
Okay?
Got to choose it wisely.
And so,
that's right.
but also the greatest thing about mentoring relationships and finding one is what not only just finding one in building a relationship.
Okay.
Remember, relationship before the task of being a mentor is important.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you really?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's you?
Yeah. That's right.
There's accountability in that.
Mm-hmm.
And the greatest space you're ever going to be in, and the greatest thing you can tell somebody is that you're a student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that implies you are willing to learn and impart knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to absorb it. You're going to be like that lady on the commercial.
Yeah.
When the water is getting ready to spill on her potential date, and her son goes, oh, and he puts down the towels, paper towels, and it absorbs it.
Yeah.
And it gets it out the way before it becomes an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know? How do you want to build this relationship?
Yeah.
Here's my standard. Then, mentee, I can see you. I will never not respond to you. Mm. But do not cry wolf all the time.
Yeah.
There are some things that at where you are in your life, I expect you to have some kind of grip on. Mm-hmm. You need to know something about how to resolve that.
Yeah.
So you come to me not looking for solutions. You come to me with your options, and we can talk them through.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right? And so it's important for us to understand the stages that we're all in. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
But the one thing I've always did was not waste their time. Mm-hmm. Use the time valuable.
Yeah.
There's a guy who mentored me, Dr. Clarence Williams.
Okay.
I met Dr. Williams at a conference that MIT faculty were doing when I was a youngster. I'm just out of school. It's like 1980. He's doing this conference over there for scholars who worked on predominantly white institutions, right?
Wow.
And I went. And it's every giant in America's there because it's MIT.
Yeah.
Right? Their concerts were even the highest ranking entertainers in the country were there. So I meet Dr. Williams. And I say, hey, Dr. Williams, I want to come over and, meet with you sometime just so we can, talk a little bit about my career in higher education. I'm just starting out. I have some goals, but I want, you're the special assistant to the president at MIT, right?
Yeah.
You're like the second dude in charge because you're running around making either decisions or blocking people from getting in the room who want to help make a decision. You're doing something, right? So he said, well, come see me anytime. And that's like that person that tells you, hey, if you're ever in the neighborhood, drop on in. And you drop in. We've had so many experiences that you drop in and you feel like you should have never came.
That's right.
Okay? So I'm thinking to myself, this dude, he just give me the old...
Okie doke.
Yeah. Did he give me the Heisman? And I'm thinking he's posing on me, right? Because I got a crew with me and I'm trying to show off because, first of all, he talked to me.
Yeah.
He wasn't so full of himself after receiving 30 standing ovations by the most eminent scholars and researchers and people in the world who happen to be persons of color and others. Yeah. Because every president's there in town because MIT's doing it. And so I'm thinking, this dude gave me the old stop by if you're in the neighborhood, And so one day I'm in Cambridge.
Okay.
And I say, I said, he got to be up these main steps. I'm a young boy.
Yeah, I can walk these steps.
He got to be up these main steps that go right into the building. The president should be in here. That's where it looks like his office would be. Lo and behold, I get in there and I ask this dude, because I'm in a suit.
Yeah.
Right? And I look like I'm going to something.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it wasn't like I was on campus trying to do something disruptive, right? At least I didn't look like that, right? My man said, well, they're up on the 3rd floor. You have an appointment? I said, yeah, I'm going to go see Dr. Williams, man. He's a cool dude. He's right up there, boom, 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 boom. So I done made it up to the 3rd floor, right, where his office is.
Okay.
So I'm saying, oh, yeah, what's up? I got that far, right? And I walk in, and I go see his assistant. And I said, I'm here to see Dr. Williams. She's like, do you have an appointment? I said, no. And she said, well, Dr. Williams is extremely busy trying to help run MIT.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Dr. Williams told me at the conference that he met me at that if I ever needed to see him, just drop on by.
Oh, okay. What did she say?
She gets up, she asks my name, she goes in the room, Dr. Williams comes out, grabs me, takes me into his office, and begins to meet with me. Now, the first thing he told me is, don't you ever bring your big 7-foot behind back over here unannounced to see me. I meant figure out how to make an appointment or something.
Yeah.
But now that you done built a relationship with the dude downstairs, the guy at the end of the hallway, my assistant, do you know how to get in to see me? He said, so let's get that out the way, because now you made me late for every other appointment I've got today. Now, the reason I'm seeing you is because you don't have that in your life yet.
Okay.
You're the dude down the hall.
Yeah.
Right now. But one day you're going to be that guy who's going to have to make a decision like that for somebody else. And don't you ever forget I did it for you.
Wow.
Wind up, I'm chancellor.
Okay.
There's a young man who is now on his 3rd college presidency, came with his family wanting to see me. They told him no. He waits in the lobby because he finds out where they picked me up.
Oh, wow.
From
Smart
the university.
Guy.
And his family and his children.
Wow.
Ends up seeing me. I put him in the next president's program. The next thing, his life has changed because Dr. Williams did the same thing for me.
Yeah.
He became so close to me. He was at every event that I did. He advised me. He taught me how to be a leader and administrator. He taught me it was okay to have people who were culturally different in my life. He calls those bridge leaders.
Yeah.
Someone who did what everyone was doing for me. They happened to be white or other.
Yeah.
And they were in these leadership jobs, and they were telling me, one day you can be me. But we know you don't like that, but so we're going to show you somebody who looks like you who's doing this. So they brought Dr. Benjamin Mays in to see me. You understand?
Okay.
To show me an example of what someone who looks like me, who was leading a great university, would look like, right? But did the same thing. So bridge leaders are people who bridge opportunity for you.
Yeah.
So those are mentors in that sense. So mentoring is not all just peachy, creamy, one size fits all kind of stuff.
That's right.
Right? Mentors can be for seasons. They can be for reasons, okay, in your life.
Yeah.
And they can be just because your dumb behind needs to have somebody to bounce something off before you make a critically dumb decision.
Yeah.
Now, dumb is a terrible word, but that goes to the depth of some wrongs that folk will do without pausing and talking it out loud to somebody.
Yeah.
Mostly mentors are mirrors. They just holding up a mirror for you.
Yeah.
Because a great mentor listens to you, holds up the mirror, lets you see your own ugly self, And you get more and more beautiful and more handsome when you allow that mentoring when you open up your eyes and stop looking down and let the anger out of your eyes and out of your mind, and you look at yourself and you say, well, dang, I am kind of, cool, right? And then you figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? And they're clear to you that nothing they're telling you is absolute.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize that when I became president, everyone who had mentored me had never been one? But they could tell me what they saw as failures in those who they had been colleagues with.
Yeah.
So that changed the mentoring relationship to that for me. Because the goal of mentors is for you to jump over into a new reality that they couldn't even dream of. You understand?
Yeah.
You're supposed to leap into a new future. Not into some future that was just normal.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that's by them showing you the mistakes of their colleagues. Now you know, okay, this is not a road I need to travel.
And when it gets deep enough, they tell you their own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one's perfect.
That's right.
The imperfect piece of it makes it so that, you understand that people are human.
Human, that's right. Yeah.
Once you understand how human you are and they are, it changes everything for you.
That's right.
Because it ain't no Superman or Superwoman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. It's attainable.
Yeah.
People want you to think that what they do is so difficult you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of it.
Yeah. And even with that relationship, you could ask them, well, what were some of the things that you had to embrace being a risk taker?
Right. Well, they might tell you, I didn't see myself as a risk taker. But since you've defined it like that, I can tell you that, sometimes risk is something you analyze.
Mm-hmm.
And you make a decision to or not to be risky.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like you do when you cross the street, when we were coming across just now.
That's right.
And the dude stopped with the truck.
That's right.
You didn't just keep walking.
No.
You did a risk analysis.
Yeah.
And you said, will my behind make it if I keep walking? Or is it going to be somebody that comes up on the side of this guy? Yeah. Or is he going to be angry because he realizes who he's letting to go across the street?
Yeah.
You decided to put yourself in God's hands and walk.
Oh, yeah.
And I decided I was going to walk on the other side of you just in case.
I'll be the hurt ornament. That's right. Oh, this has been real good. I mean, what advice would you give to driven college or even vocational student that's trying to enter the real world? What advice would you tell them not to ignore?
That they're in the real world already.
Uh-huh.
This is not fantasy, even when you're learning.
Yeah.
People will say, well, what's the secret to life? The secret to life is to live.
That's right.
and to increase your chances to do that.
Yeah.
On the learning piece, the analysis has been that when you give yourself the chance to learn and you obtain knowledge and you get whatever that degree is that people give you to acknowledge, because it's all a driver's license.
Yeah, that's true.
A driver's license doesn't tell me I got to drive a BMW like you. I can roll up with my Transverse and I'm cool.
Cool, that's right.
Because it's a driver's license.
That's right.
Education, unless it's some extreme specialty, I don't want somebody telling me they know how to do surgery that hasn't lifted a scalpel.
No,
but
that's right.
For the most part, that's what the deal is.
Yeah.
So if you achieve at a certain level, gives you at least an opportunity to live at a certain level.
Yeah.
Okay? But even with that, It all comes down to work and work ethic.
Yeah. That's right.
You know, it's not going to it doesn't just pop up. The problem with fast food and fast food mentality and all the Googles and everything that we can do to get information in 2 seconds is that people think that's what life is. They walk in my office asking me, and they just starting the first day of school, how they're going to become chancellor. Well, the first thing you need to do is figure out how to graduate from here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's step one.
That's right.
You know, step two, there's a lot of steps to this.
It is. That's right.
You see the finished product that's not even finished, but in your mind, you think it's finished.
There's a journey there.
It bothers me when people say to me, well, Dr. Motley, now that you've become president of a university in Boston, what else is there for you to do? As if I'm out, you know, this was all I had as a goal all of my life. Everyone that I grew up under knew I was going to lead, but they didn't tell me I was only going to lead a university.
Yeah.
So that's why I've built schools and I've led organizations and I've led businesses and I've created this and created that, because those were the things that were instilled in me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't limit yourself.
That's right.
Do not limit yourself to whatever they tell you that degree tells you you can do.
Yeah. Because it's a wide open space.
Yeah, that's what this world is all about. Listen, 75% of what people go to school for will change before they're done with the next 2 years of school.
That's right.
There's going to be more things out here as options for folks to do. Mm-hmm. People didn't know they were going to need supply chain people and people that are doing all this cybersecurity and everything else, and security at the levels that it is.
It is, that's right.
You know? So it's like, and that's just, well, look at all the bridges and things that are falling down now that they have had to fix. So you don't go in and put in poles and lines in a place that never had phones before. You go in with iPhone 30. And they're like on 15 or something now.
Yeah.
You find the most incredible technology that you can to make it work.
That's it.
And that's how life is.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody giving you Pop-Tarts in 2023.
Yeah.
They cool.
Yeah.
But they keep them around for us that had them as kids.
That's right. That's right.
There's something better than that.
That's right.
More nutritious, more this, more that, right?
Yeah.
And if they tell you it's going to help you live longer, you're going to run your butt down there and get whatever that new stuff is.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. Oh, this has been a great day, great podcast. Thank you, Dr. J. Keith Motley, for being our guest and discussing the importance of education and mentorship as well as leadership. But I just want to go back to that standard of care, because it's about really the care and the relationship.
That's it.
Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up today?
No, just thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I would say that if they're asked, people should come and do this podcast and podcasts in general, because talking and communicating is something that was lost.
Yeah.
During the times that we had to be locked away from each other. And we were doing it over Zoom, but it's nothing like being in the room with somebody, having a real conversation with them, locking out all the other stuff, and just moving forward. I think it's very therapeutic and something that we should do. You know, talk out loud your journey.
Yeah.
You know, and it always reminds you of those books that you need to write. And all of us can do that.
That's right. Well, hopefully we see a new book from you soon. You already spoke it. You prophetic it. You proclaimed it. We going to do it. Yeah.
It needs to be 2 or 3.
That's right.
You know, and a revision of some.
All right.
To update them around the pandemic.
That's right. Well, thank you again for being our guest. I am your host, Jerrell Riggins. Remember, kindness is free. Sprinkle it everywhere you go.